Good morning, Intenders.
Good morning.
Welcome and welcome back to Morning Intentions. Today is Thursday, May 28th. Thank you for joining us today, this week, and this month. Annette, thank you, as always, for joining me for this month of living a heart-led life.
So this was your idea, Ada, as a theme. How did you like it?
It has helped me so much. I think about when am I showing up in fear? I check in with what's going on inside of me. Where am I being heart-led, and how, if I'm being fear-led, could I inject a little heart-led living into that moment? I've loved every minute of it.
I'm looking forward to our reflection tomorrow.
I am too, because I'd love to hear what's going on in you and how you have been affected by this month. That's tomorrow, though. Today, we're continuing on with what we started yesterday, creating a life structure that supports a heart-led life. And Annette, you mentioned what we're going to talk about today right at the end of yesterday's episode.
Yesterday, we talked about more of those fundamentals, making sure that you don't have ice cream for dinner if that isn't going to serve you. Really appreciated your story, Ada. And today, what we want to focus on as our last day with living a heart-led life, we need to be intentional about the people we include in our lives, the people closest to us. Obviously, we have to go to work. We live in a neighborhood. We're part of a church. We work at a school. I mean, all of those, we can't handpick everyone that we're going to be a part of. But the people closest to us, when we're thinking about heart-led living, we want to have that connection, that sense of belonging, that emotional safety. So when things come up, that we are not afraid and we don't go into fear when we have to talk it over, or we have to bring up maybe a touchy subject. Through the years, I know I've had this experience and I've met so many people. The people closest to them were not really their safest. And so it caused so much anxiety. It really is anxiety was where we go when we don't feel safe, especially in our closest relationships. It's extremely difficult to live a heart-led life when we don't have emotional safety in our closest relationships.
And you're right. No, we can't pick who our coworkers are. We can't pick who our neighbors are. But what we can pick is how we show up with them. We can show up with those people that we didn't pick from a fear-led place or from a heart-led place.
So what does that mean to you, Ada? Because that could be confusing.
How so?
I know what you're getting at, but I want to make sure we all understand this.
I know I can be a bit cryptic.
Well, because, okay, so an example, let's say you have a neighbor who is rude to your kids and yells at them and screams at them, and your kids have a lot of anxiety when they're going outside and they see the neighbor come out. Fear-led would look how? Heart-led would look how? To me, heart-led might be you go and tell the neighbor, don't you dare talk to my kids that way.
And that might be the heart-led thing in that moment.
I just want to make sure that we know what you mean by that. It doesn't mean like you try to bake them cookies and you nice them into being nice, because a lot of people you cannot nice into being nice.
And while true, you're so right, you can't nice people into being nice. This whole month was about tuning in to our hearts and listening to our inner wisdom and that inner voice that guides us. Just think of Pinocchio. Always let your conscience be your guide. When we're fear-led, we skip a step. We skip.
Can I just say, okay, I didn't know you were going to bring up Pinocchio. That's funny. Okay, go on. And always let your conscience be your guide.
Exactly. And when we're fear-led, we skip that step. We go straight into reaction. We're not pausing. We're not reflecting. We're not tuning in to what our heart says would be the best in this situation.
We may have to say the hard things.
We're definitely going to have to say the hard things when we're being heart-led. But we don't know necessarily what that looks like. It could be you go and say, hey, don't talk to my kids like that. You might call the police. You might avoid them. I don't know the exact specifics of a given situation.
I mean, you might try to bake them cookies and say, "Hey,
Exactly.
what's going on?" And then if that doesn't work, but I do want us all to know that heart led doesn't always mean sweet as pie.
No, it doesn't. It has a variety of flavors. We don't know exactly what that means in a given situation until we tune in to our hearts. And that's the thing. So much of the world wants here's a problem. This is the solution that you're going to use every time. That's fear led living. The heart led way is you take a specific situation with a specific time and context and you tune into your heart.
And you tune into your heart's boundaries, what's true for you, what's authentic. If you have to go over and tell the neighbor, please don't ever talk to my children like that, in a harsh way, harsher than maybe you would like, that still is heart-led living because you're doing what needs to be done in order to protect your kids. You're meeting the moment with that authenticity, also that sense of safety and emotional safety that you're wanting to give to your children, to use this example.
Our heart will lead the way in that moment when it's coming from love instead of fear. Fear will always get us into trouble. It's not going to lead us in the right direction. It's going to lead us into more fear. And that's what we were talking about yesterday about being intentional. We have to take the time to be intentional, to tune into what our hearts have to say, consider our boundaries, consider our needs, our emotional needs, our physical needs. If we have children, we're in charge of protecting them. So what does that mean? How do we show up in a way that supports them because they are relying on us for their physical and emotional needs?
So the heart-led living really does take all the work that we've been doing since October. We need to know what it means to be aligned with ourselves. We need to know about hustling for our worth. We need to know about what is true for us. And when we think about conflict, there's just two more things that we need to cover before we say goodbye today. So conflict is a part of life. We may have a month that we talk about conflict. That's kind of a goal of mine. I want us all to get clear about that. We're going to take a little break and do something lighter for June, but I would like to understand conflict better. I will say, though, heart-led living, it's extremely difficult to do that if you're in a contentious environment, conflict-filled environment, at home every day, or very often, or a very contentious workplace. Some of those are incongruent with being able to really show up the way we want to show up. So think about that and think about how much conflict do you have in your life? And maybe we could kind of get ready to think about that later on this summer and really dive into what is appropriate conflict. Because sometimes, when you don't have the same idea, you really learn a lot. But it's how is it addressed and how does it show up? And then lastly, and we can talk about this a little bit more tomorrow, Ada, in our reflection if we want to, but making sure that our environment, our life structure environment, our living space is conducive to relaxation, calm. Doesn't mean that you don't have days when you're busy, but it's not all in disarray, or there's things that happen at your home that it's not good for you at all. I'm thinking, so if you have somebody who's really into drinking and you're not into drinking, and then that incongruency is very difficult. It's like, well, but this isn't what I want in my home. You're not passing judgment on somebody else, but you're also saying, but this doesn't work for me. And that's where coaching can come in. But we also have to think about that. That heart-led living is also the environment in which we live, in which we work. So just wanted to put that out there, those different areas of who we include in our life, if there's too much conflict on a daily basis, and what our environment looks like. Take some inventory, and are you able to show up from that heart-led space inside of you that we all have?
For our intention today, we want to continue thinking about creating a life structure that supports our heart. Who am I including in my life? Is my life filled with a great deal of conflict? And is my environment conducive to heart led living? Who am I including in my life? Is my life filled with a great deal of conflict? And is my environment conducive to heart led living? Thank you so much for joining us today. Our day is better because you are part of our day. See you tomorrow.
See you then.